Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of the Dan Dawson Show. So, if you're watching this show, you're probably obviously conservative. If you have a black friend, please send them this video. Please send it to them. If you have a liberal friend, please, even if they're white, please send it to them because I want them to question how racist the liberals are. And it goes back to gun control. It's one of the main points where you can see their racism come through, even though they try to hide it. Now we're going to do, this is the view from October 12th. So Joy Behar, Miss Blackface herself, Whoopi Goldberg's not on this episode, but hey, not only did she encourage her husband to wear blackface and white lips, but to call her the N-word several times. White liberals are your enemies. They're not your friends. They are not your friends. So one of the co-hosts on here, I think deep down she knows that. I hope she gets her own show soon because I want to hear her where she's not being coached. You watched the interview with what was her name? She used to be on here, but she's talking about how The View was coached from beginning to end, and they, all that stuff. So, without further ado, let's get into this racist bitch, Joy Behar. And Sunny Houston, she's racist. I guarantee she hates black people, probably Mexicans too, Asians, white people. I think she just hates everybody. So I don't know if you call that racist. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin.
More black women were becoming gun owners, and you just became one of them, Sherry, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I bought a 9mm.
Why?
Gun because, well, I don't know why you laughing, but
Why? Because it's none of your damn business. But let's continue.
During quarantine, I felt really helpless, Joy. We're talking about depression. I felt like Jeffrey would look at me like, he was so scared. I get these little alerts in my neighborhood app about it's going to be a march through the neighborhood. And I started feeling like.
Now, keep in mind, this is a black woman talking. During the quarantine, the Proud Boys weren't marching. White supremacists weren't marching. It was BLM, and BLM has a track record of killing black people who don't agree with their views. You don't believe me? Go back and look at 2020. BLM killed more black people than white supremacists. Ridiculous.
How am I going to protect my son if something happens? And I got some of my girlfriends who are actresses, and we all went to a gun shop in California. There's only 2 Black-owned gun shops.
First of all, I didn't even know there were gun shops in California anymore. I thought they all went out of business, but hey, I guess as long as you're there. And I don't understand why it had to be a Black-owned gun shop. Go to where you're going to get the best quality for the best price and the best training. Don't come to me because I'm a black firearms instructor. Come to me because I'm good at my job. That's all I ask.
I think it was like a Redstone Firearms, Geneva and Jonathan. And we went, and I felt very empowered when I bought this gun. I took lessons. I took the test. I go to the range with my girlfriends like every other week. And it just makes me feel like at least if something happens, I can protect my child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very strong statement there. That's a very strong statement. If she's home alone, somebody breaks in, she's not going to physically outmatch half these intruders. George Floyd was 6'6". That poor little pregnant woman couldn't outmatch him, but if she had had a gun, that would have went differently. And we might not have a stupid statue to him. That's ridiculous. People are stupid.
I will tell you, I've had so many friends, my black girlfriends also get guns, especially during the pandemic, and they wanted me to get a gun. And as a former federal prosecutor and someone who has seen.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you. See, because one thing that the left does well, and they use other black people to do it, like Half Black Don Lemon, Joy Reid, is they like to call black conservatives coons. Well, I think it's time we change that around. Here's the coon, Sunny Houston. Houston? Houston? I don't know.
Been to crime scenes and has seen a lot of gun violence in my career. I know the statistics, and that when you do have a gun in your home, you are more likely to kill a loved one or a relative.
That is a lie. It's not a true statistic, especially not if you've had training. That is a lie. Sunny is lying like she always does. That's what liberals do. They lie, lie, lie. They never stop. And they'll keep piling on those lies and they'll keep telling the same lie until you accept it. Only Dan's not going to accept it. Let's continue on.
And the suicide rate goes up in your own home when you have a gun. And I understand about the training, but I will say, when I asked them, why are you getting a gun? One said, I Googled Civil War and 2020.
Oh, it's coming.
One said, it's the propensity of certain people to initiate violence when they don't get their way.
That would be liberals and Black Lives Matter, who destroyed several buildings, cost $6 billion in damage across these blue cities, murdered people in the street. They murdered 30 people. 30, think about that, 30. That's not counting how many were wounded or just beaten up. That's not counting them in Seattle, trying to ice in when it snowed, the Seattle Police Department. And you see the Seattle Police Department having to drive their police cars through a garage door to get out while they're trying to light it on fire. BLM, the worst enemy of Black people ever. They're worse than the Klan. I'd rather go to a Klan rally than a BLM meeting.
And in the article that we were given, it said, when you are being targeted, you hear stories like Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland, and you have these incidents going on all across the country. You watch and know you have at least a chance of survival because some people are radical. And I
Yes, BLM is radical.
think we have to remember that the FBI has made it clear that the white supremacy is the most persistent and lethal threat to the country.
You got to be shitting me. So you have this. Actually, I kind of agree because I agree with that. Let me tell you why I agree with that. BLM is full of white supremacists. Liberals are a bunch of white supremacists. If they can't control Blacks, they want to get rid of them. Or you can bet they would exterminate you today if they could, if you don't agree with their ideals and principles, which is why the Dave Chappelle thing was so epic, and why they're all upset about it.
I think that is why so many Black women and Black people in general are now arming themselves. But I still believe that in this country, our readiness to sort of allow arms to be purchased at will and fired at will has led to violence and hatred becoming a really popular pattern.
Okay, so let me tell you something else about this liar, and I hate that look on her face. You see that little smug look? You see that? That's what's wrong with the country. I believe nobody cares what the hell you believe. It's my right. I don't believe The View should be on TV, but yeah, there you are.
I'll just give you a piece of information. I'm a big gun control person. Back in the 60s, the NRA fought alongside the government for stricter gun regulations. Why?
Actually, that's not true. I did a whole show on that. So I did my little research on it. Come to find out, when the Black Panthers couldn't purchase firearms or ammo, they bought it from the NRA. The NRA sold it to them at a discounted price. So of course, Joy Behar, the liar in chief, is lying. Lying just through her teeth. But like I said, this is what liberals do. I don't even know why I let it get me so upset. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, it's always these people.
Because there was an effort to keep the guns out of the hands of African Americans as racial tensions grew.
Yeah.
Okay?
So now I want you to observe something. So if in the 60s, racists didn't want, and you can go all the way back to Ida B. Wells, who said in the home of every Black family should hang a Winchester repeating rifle, which in today's terms would be an AR-15. If racists don't want Black people to have guns, and now Joy Behar doesn't want you to have a gun, make the subtle connection yourself about who the real racist is. It's not the redneck down at the gun shop that's trying to get me into the 338 LaPool, which I actually might get, I like it. It's Joy Behar, because she wants you unarmed. Just because her ideals are more important than anything, and she's not reconciling the fact that you want Black people unarmed.
I even gave Dr. King a concealed carry permit, the same man that was killed by gun violence.
Which I might add, the governor wouldn't do it. The governor was a Democrat. just like this group of fucking idiots.
So if more black people get guns, you're gonna see bigger gun control laws, watch.
Now, who's pushing the gun control laws? It's racists like Joy Behar, and that's right, she is a racist. I'm calling her a racist. Let's just call it out. Miss Blackface herself, she is a racist. As much as says she cares about black people, she really doesn't.
And I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying as a single woman,
Yeah.
the helplessness I felt. And when I looked at my son and he looked at me like, Mom, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I knew physically I'm not able to
Well,
combat. I
what
take
else?
self-defense
What
lessons.
What is it, Essie, about this?
I'm a gun owner as well.
You are.
And you don't have to sell me on the empowerment I feel, knowing how to use firearms and
Right.
having firearms. But it breaks my heart that so many people in this country feel so unsafe, that women feel.
It doesn't break my heart, especially if you live in a liberal city. You are very unsafe. The cops aren't coming. The cops aren't coming. You live in San Francisco, Los Angeles. The cops put out this thing the other day. They don't even do street patrols anymore because they don't have the numbers, because people like Joy Behar and these leftist idiots defunded the police. That's why Austin's so unsafe. One of my little sisters, her favorite place to go with her fiance was Austin. They would go all the time. And a year or so ago, they went. She was like, we'll never go again. It's just too unsafe. Now they try to throw this back on white supremacy. And in a way, they're right. It's the white supremacist LGBTQ BLM partnership that's going after black people. I think Dave Chappelle proved that to you. So we're going to end the video here, but I just want you to remember this. They're showing you who they are. As Oprah says, believe them. So thank you for watching this episode of The Dan Dawson Show. As always, like, subscribe, share, and do what you got to do.